represent the LA Film Critics Association, and it is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome Ugo Bienvenu, director of Arco. So, one of the things you've talked about so much with regard to this film is how you wanted to give an alternative view of the future, because you got this idea during COVID, and it was a time when things were pretty pessimistic. And you decided that we can't really envision a positive future unless you make one, unless as an artist you make one. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that felt like to you to come up with a positive manifestation of the future?
I'm a science fiction writer. I do comic books since more than 10 years now in science fiction, and it appeared to me that in a way we were living in a bad science fiction movie or book, and maybe the science fiction was responsible in a way of what we were going through. And I thought, okay, as a science fiction writer right now, I think it's our responsibility to think about each like solutions and try to if we want better things to happen, we have to imagine them first. And as we know, everything human design exists in the world, so maybe it's our job now to design better ways for us, and not relying only on numbers, but maybe relying on something else, which are emotions, feelings, and conscious, and in order to make a world that suits us better for our bodies, for our minds.
It's a very, it's a very curious and sort of compelling juxtaposition. Tonight at the theater is playing Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, which couldn't be a more different, sort of difficult view of the future. And it's such an interesting contrast with Arco, which has this hope and despair kind of in battle with one another.
But I think both movies talk about the same thing. It's about what technology takes from us, from our humanity, and in Italian, imbecile, which means dumb, it is a word based on the one that doesn't use a stick, and a stick being the first technology. So technology, since the beginning, helped us grabbing time from reality to think the world, to imagine things, to dream. And now technology inverse can grab us time and take us the time we need to think, to dream, to even be bored, and this time is really important, I think, and we should be careful about.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. It feels to me like you're saying almost that we're at a crossroads, like a transition. Is that right?
Yeah. I feel like we're getting in a world of indifference. We're living in a world of indifference, and this is a danger. And one of the questions I think the movie asks is, now the concept of things is replacing the actual things, the actual reality of things, the physicality of it. And I think it's one of our, how would you say, sorry, my English, I'm gonna get better, my English is gonna get better, but I just arrived from Paris, so it's one of the big issues of our era,
And also, you have these two futures. I want to talk to you about the two futures. There's the near future of 2075, which also looks so much like where we are now. We're not that far away from nanny bots and parents, coming by hologram, that kind of thing, and robots cleaning up after natural disasters, things like that, right? And then you have this further future, which is Arco's future, where the earth needs to heal and people have evolved or to learn a different way of relating to it, which almost has some elements of the far past, with the mill, with the water, and interaction with nature, things like that. Do you see us, where do you see us on that path as humans?
I think it's not our point, directors, to give our points of view. I don't like directors that do that. I just try to put elements together, and so they can ask questions. But I never want to say this is good, this is bad. For example, Mickey, which is embodying like AI today, he's allowing me just to ask questions and to say, are we okay going that way? And not showing only one side of the coin, you know. He's allowing his parents to give the best of the present for her daughter and boy, but at the same time he's grabbing them, he's allowing them to work far and not being there, not being present. But at the same time also, like, he's going to be the one that will save the kids, and at the same time he's saving the kid, imitating an animal. So it's always, I always try to show the complexity of things and because things are not simple in the world, and I think in fiction we have to be careful not simplifying things too much, and show things on different sides here. And a lot of times people ask me if it was complex, like doing this world building. But to me, like, Iris's world is exactly our world today. Like, I feel it like this. I just like put it on the steroid forms on embryos that are already here, and in Arco, for Arco as well. I imagine, like, I like movies that use human unconscious, and in fact I was searching like where do we want to go since the very beginning of humanity, and in every text, like based like the main text like Bible, like Kalevala, like a lot of also the journey to East in China, there are gardens in the sky, and I thought, okay, let's use this strong image that we all have in humanity, and build something like build the far future on that very first idea of humanity, of what is a cool living, you know, like.
And my favorite scene is the one with Mickey in the cave drawing. I think that's like this incredibly moving scene, which is also a callback to the beginnings of humankind, right? Yep. So how history is still woven in, and that's the way that he ultimately saves the children, right?
Yeah, and what I like with this idea was saying that here is where robots can, I don't know how to say that, but become a bit human in a way. Is like what is making us humans is that we choose things in reality that are important. And at this moment, Mickey says to Iris, "You are important, and you are important," and that what moved me, like saying that we definitely have to not forget that our ability to make choices and to choose what is important for us.
And it seems to me also that Iris just craves human connection. She craves interaction with nature and human connection. She also would love to talk to the animals and so on. But these are things that she's starved of in her day-to-day life. She has this very sort of sterile existence in a way, which is kind of cool from an AI perspective, a class where she has, you know, the entire universe over her head and is enmeshed in that world, but she wants to be part of the natural world, I think. And there's something really lovely about that dynamic between them, because Arco represents the natural world from the future. It's very sweet. Tell me a little bit about, well, I know you talked so much about Natalie Portman's involvement, and she was absolutely pivotal to this because you had this inspiration during COVID. You came up with the idea, you developed it, storyboarded it, and then you did an animatic, right? Tell us about that and how that got to Natalie.
Yeah, in France, nobody understood the script, and so it was really hard to finance it as based on the script and the storyboard, because nobody knows how to read the storyboard and as an animator. And so it was really, and Felix and I like decided to put all our money and hire like 3 persons to work with me on animatics, and we decided to pass 1 year doing the animatic, like the 4 of us. We had to do like 4 to 6 shots a day in really rough animation, but it was really well animated. And so we could show the world what the movie could be, and we were doing also like rough music and putting it on it, and also rough sound design. And after like 6 months, we called our agent, like Jeremy Chamazin, who's working in LA, and he's also the agent of Natalie Portman. And he came to the studio, watched the first 45 minutes of the animatic, and said, I definitely have to call Natalie, she has to watch this. Next morning she was in the studio, everybody was like, oh, Natalie's coming, and so she is, her and Sophias, her partner, saw the animatic, and right after they told us what you need, and then it was, I think, because of the animatic and Natalie's presence, it went pretty fast, and then it took us like 4 months to have the first money to launch the production, and then we were producing while making the movie. So it took us basically 2 years and a half to write the story and do the whole storyboard, and then 1 year to do the animatic, and then 1 year and 2 months to finish the movie with the team.
Which is really fast, right?
Yeah, but the animatic was so clear that it helped us a lot.
So you showed it to Natalie. Natalie said to you, "What do you need? What can I do to help?" And that opened up all those doors and into your eventually your voice cast of American actors.
At that time, we needed a bodyguard for the movie.
Yeah.
You know, someone that could protect the very core of the idea. You know, and so that's what like Natalie and Sophie did, help us like keeping the purity and the fragileness of the movie, and then then when we were in Cannes, we sold the movie to Neon, and we needed to do the American version really fast. So Natalie called. I did a list of people I wanted to work with, and she called them, and we had everybody. So it was great.
One of the things that you've mentioned also is when you were envisioning this, the idea of the sort of natural disasters, including fires on that scale, that people who read it, who saw it, that can possibly happen, right? That's not.
Yeah, the forest, the fire in the forest, everybody in 2021, everybody was saying, oh, it's a Deus Ex Machina, fires don't happen like this. And we were finishing the frames of finishing the frames of the fire scene. And at the same time, there was the fires in LA. So it's crazy. Also, it happened to me a lot when I was doing my books in science fiction. I was writing my story, and every time I was finishing my book, things were happening in reality. And so we definitely have to be super fast writing science fiction. and that's too bad. I did a comic book where Trump, the son of Trump, was a refugee in France. Because and he wasn't known in France at all, and he wasn't even going to be president. And after 6 months, like working on the comic book, like he went into the presidential campaign. And when I finished the book, he was president. So it goes really fast. It's called Paiement. It's not translated. And then I did another book called Preference System, which is now in America. And it was about memory and stuff, and there was a robot carrying a baby in his belly, and now China can do it, and things are going so fast.
Incredible. By the way, this is Ugo's first feature film, which is pretty amazing, right? Deservedly getting a lot of acclaim for it. I also just wanted to ask one more question about, actually we didn't touch on yet, Arco, the composer, because I think his contribution is just so important here. The contrast between the sort of upbeat pastoral music in the scenes with Arco and his family, and the sort of heavier, melancholy kind of section with On Earth in 2075. Can you talk about the choice of him and what he brought to the process and your vision for that?
Arco is a friend of mine since like 12 years, something like this, and he's really a close friend, and it's one of the persons I talked to at the very beginning of my project. And it was really hard to impose him on the production, because we had a lot of really known musicians that wanted to do the music, but like more like more technological music, you know. And I was like, no, I really want like classical compositions. I want feelings with music, and Arno was the one, you know. And I know him. I know his feelings. I know what he brings in music. And it was hard to impose him, but I'm so glad we did, because now everybody's calling him. But sometimes you have to do hard choices and say no to crazy, like important people, in order to keep, like, to defend what you. And it was the same for November Ultra, the last song. Like I went to see her in concert. I was crying all the time. I wanted her since the very beginning of the project, but I had so many names that wanted to do this ending, like, and I had to say no. It's I think we have to keep things, our intentions first, intuitions, like, firmly, because, like, the world is bringing you a lot of contrary winds, and sometimes it's hard because also people that wanted to do the music at one time, I really love their work and I would have loved working with it, but not on a movie and not like this. So you have to keep straight sometimes.
Now the doors will open for you, right? Well, like,
no, I'm gonna work with Arco anyway. Yeah.
There's a wonderful moment where,
also finishing on Arco, what I like the most, we did that also on the team of animation. I prefer creating value than using value. And all the team were young people, the people that I found, because I'm a teacher in Gobelin, I'm a teacher in another school in France, and I like to bring value to people and not just using their value and for me, And that's why I built in my studio, remembers. That's why I wanted it all in the same place in Paris and not in tons of countries, and I wanted to meet everybody, to know everybody, and to have a daily life with them, not just giving them checks for work.
And Gobelin is an animation school in the 20th in Paris, is that right?
In the 14th.
In the 14th, okay. Well, actually,
and my studio is in the 20th.
Your studio is in the 20th, that's right. But
we had like 4 or 3 places, like 5 minutes walking from each other, so I was searching all the time.
And I read that several of your students, your former students, came and worked on the film.
Yeah, most of them, like, I think on the 150 people that worked on the movie, like 125 were my students, so I knew them really well. And were my trainees also since like 10 years, so yeah, the whole thing, I knew their personalities, so I knew how to put them together and how the energy could match. And a lot of my work was just also watching if human problems were getting in the studio, so I could cut them before they were getting, because human problems can become cancer for productions, and for small productions like this, because I hope you don't see it, but we did it for 100 millions less than the movies that we're, compared to. So it was also a lot about speaking to humans and keeping this human place like in a good shape all the time.
Well, a good lesson to film students to be close to their instructors, right? To work together, because you might end up with a job.
No, but also, for example, Adam, the director of animation, I met him, he was 18. And then I was his teacher at Gobelin, then he was my trainee, when he was in vacation, I was hiring him and paying him like a professional. And when he got out of school, he became like the director of my studio. And when he began working on Arco, he was 23. So it's really young, but I knew, because he's so close to me, he's kind of, I knew it was him. And kind of all the team was super young. And I also brought my old friends from when I was a student too. So there was a lot of love doing this movie.
What is the dynamic like with your former students? Do you ask them for their feedback? Do you ask them their opinions, or do you tell them like how is the exchange like?
I give them a lot of room, but at the same time, because I think the more, I do a lot of things in my life. I'm an illustrator, I do comic books, I have a studio, I have a production company, I also have a publishing house, and most of the time people in France tell me, how do you do everything in one day, how many hours does your days last? And in fact, I do things when I want to do them. And so, for example, when I do illustration, I think about the shot I have to do in animation. And when I don't know how to finish the illustration, I already know how to do the shots, so I do it, and it takes me 5 minutes. But if I had done it like, okay, I have to do this, it would have taken me like five hours maybe. So I do this 5 minutes animation, and while I'm doing this, accounting, I forgot. So I'm thinking about accounting, and then I finish the animation, I go on accounting, it takes me 2 minutes. And that's what I try to do with my animators too, is to give them not just one task, but a lot of tasks in a day, different tasks, so they never get bored, so they're always active. And also, I always tell them, that's why also I circle a lot of the studios, because like your position is important too. And often, when I get in the studio, I see people working like this, and then they tell me, oh, I'm finishing late every night. So sometimes I come to the studio and I say, be straight, and then they come to me and they say, oh, I'm not late anymore, and I'm in advance. So it's always about trying to find the good pace, the good way for everybody, and also the good energy, and bringing energy to everybody. And
nice. Well, I think we're going to open it up for some questions.
In continuation of working with your collaborators, you said, I think, you worked with 4 storyboard artists, including yourself.
Yeah.
How did you keep...
the storyboard was already here.
Oh, yeah.
So they were taking the storyboards, not all the time, but most of the time they were taking my storyboards and just like doing a rough animation on it, It's more about fixing intentions that were in the book, but bringing them a little bit further, So every intention was in the animatic, and kind of most of the time animators were trying to they were telling, oh, we could do this, we could do that, look, it would be great, and I was like, yeah, it's great, but then I was thinking and I was showing that, okay, this is great, but after it gives that, great, it gives that, great, and 5 minutes later, there's a problem because we brought a new intention, a new idea in the movie, and it breaks something after. So you fix something after, but it breaks something before. So you're always like, and the animatic helps us like fixing things, and then animators had to just push it a little further, but they couldn't change the intentions. And this helps us like going so fast, and I think protecting all the intentions of the movie. And also, it was important for me to have these 3 collaborators because they are, as I said, I know them since they are so young, and they know me by heart. They work for me like since 10 years. So I don't have to tell them a lot of things, so they know where I want to go, and it's going super fast.
How did this idea begin, and how long did it take you to write and get it to be this?
The idea appeared in May 2020, and as I said, like the work wasn't going really well. I was like, I don't think it's gonna be better in the next years, And I needed tenderness. I felt a lack of sweetness, tenderness in cinema, and I couldn't find like movies or books that were bringing me that. And I was like, okay, I think I have to do that. But I didn't have, I began thinking about it from 2019, but I had nothing, nothing came. And one day I drew a face getting out of the sky and just traced colors behind it, and Arco appeared like this. And it was, I didn't know why, but it was important for me. This image meant something. And then it took me like a few months to say, okay, I sent it to my partner Felix, I remember, with the co-founder of my studio, and he told me, you have to do a feature film with that because we need that, and he told me like, rainbows appear when it's raining and sunny at the same time, and it's magical, and we need like that kind of magic and softness, and I wanted to also this movie to be kind of a hug for the world and for the audience that would see the movie, and I thought this could be a great project, and to put a lot of energy in it, because when I did System Preference, my comic book, like I had 20 studios that wanted me to adapt this comic book, but also I wanted to have kids, and my previous work was really adult, And I wanted to have kids, and I was like, if I have kids now and they see my work, they read my work, they see my movies, they will be like, oh, Papa is so cynical, you know. And I didn't want them to think this or that, you know. And I wanted to, yeah. Also, I also often said our kids will face that, you know. But I think it's also our role to prepare things for them, and that was my way. Even I had 2 kids during the production, but since the very beginning of this movie, I was like, no, I'm going to do my best also to bring light to the world, because I think there's a lot of darkness right now, and it's easy to bring darkness. And also, science fiction is a lot about criticism, you know. It's a lot about testing systems to see if they work, and sometimes breaking them. And I feel like social media is also a lot about like trashing things, and I don't want to be part of it right now. I want to be part of the people that build sand castles in the beach and not the ones that break them, you know. And I really definitely think now that building things, bringing light is harder, but it's our. I want to take that part of the job, and I think it's the most beautiful one.
Hi there. So, my question is about the art style. When did you lock on to that sort of style of sort of cell shading animation along with traditional animation, and also was there also computer animation in there too? Because it felt like a mixture of multiple animation styles in there.
In fact, I'm an illustrator since more than 15 years now. My style is kind of fixed, so I really wanted this movie to be my style. I work for a lot of magazines in France for Hermès. I do sculpts for Hermès. I do tons of illustrations. I also direct short movies, music videos, documentaries since 15 years, so that's my style. I didn't search for style, and I draw like this, I animate like this since the very beginning, and I just wanted, I didn't search for styles, a proper style, I had it, you know. And also all my team, all my studio, like I developed my studio around that. And so there was no like actual, I had no team for pre-production. Pre-production was myself and I, and it was important for me also, because the movies I like in animation are the movies that are made and thought by one guy. I like to hear a voice. When I read a book, what I like is to hear a voice. When I see a movie, that's what I like. And often in animation, I feel like it's a lot of noise. You know, it's a lot of people deciding things, but at the end, I often feel like something not condensed. You know, and I don't know, I try to do I try to be in the family that the movies I like, and actually like Satoshi Kon, Miyazaki, and even some others, but mainly these, you know, because they are made thought by one person and brought through the world by one person, and that's what I like watching, like reading, and that's what I try to do.
We have time for one more question.
Yeah, the ending is pretty intense. I mean, Arco basically cost members of his family like 20 years of their life.
More,
But that's pretty, I mean, it's a pretty heavy cost. I mean, what was the...
There's a Latin phrase that says ex falso verbum sequitur, from the wrong comes the right. And I love the idea of he's doing something wrong, and so yeah, we always pay the price when we do something wrong, always in life. And I think as directors, as storytellers, we have to say our kids, things have cost, you know, when you do something, and also it's all about the movie. It's like, it's what we do that brings something in the future. Every choice we do will bring something in the future, so we have to think about what we do. And I think the movies I liked when I was a kid were the movies that were watching at me in the eye and not lying to me, and I definitely think that kids know when you're lying to them. And now a lot of animation for kids, I don't think they tell the truth always. There's a lot of sugar in it, and so everything's okay, don't worry. But they know it's not okay. And I wanted to take them seriously and to tell them, okay, this is the world we live in. But if you trust on imagination again, if you watch the world, if you live in it, if you have sensation, if you touch things, feel things, you can go through life. And I think also the role of fiction is to prepare people for what they will go through in life. And so when they are confronted in reality to a situation, they are muscle, emotion, because emotions are muscles, we have to train them as muscles. They are trained for that, and they don't fall in front of the situation. And I really think that we have to do this for our kids. But at the same time, what I wanted to say is that, like, parents will always say, it goes so fast, and it goes so fast. But the kids will never understand that. And so I really wanted to do a strong frame, a strong image to tell, so they could feel in them really deeply in themselves that, yeah, this time goes fast, and we have to enjoy the time we have here. We have to enjoy the time we have with the people we love. And also finishing on the climate change. Often climate change is told as something painful, you know, like, we shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. But it's a great occasion for humanity to fight together for something. And it could be a great adventure. It could bring us a lot of joy and happiness doing something together, sharing things together, and not just making. So
From the darkness of Arco became the light of Arco, right?
thank you for